let's get started. So today we're going to look at the newest addition to Log My Care, which is our rostering tool, our rostering add-on. It's something that we're really passionate about, really keen on, and we've added it to both the Carer app and the Care Office, as we'll run through in more detail a little bit later. But yeah, here are the kind of main points of how we got to where we are with it. We designed the system in collaboration with our customers and with a steering group who tested the beta of the system for a number of months. So there were many different types of services, both residential care homes and supported living and domiciliary services involved in that. So we've designed the system to suit all of those different settings. We've integrated the rota into the Carer app, so that'll basically streamline logging and information to visits and shifts for your team, so they can see where they need to be and when. And then we're given more oversight to care coordinators and to managers within the Care Office to have a real comprehensive oversight of daily operations. So this is kind of a brief overview of what makes up Log My Care. We've got some of the core functions and features here that we all know and love in terms of logging, handovers, and much more. Some of our more specialist features that we've added recently in terms of goal tracking to monitor progress for individuals and for services, PBS planning, and real detailed incident management and analysis. And then rostering is being added to our add-ons here, alongside things like EMAR and the family portal. So yeah, today we're going to cover a bit of a run through of why to use rostering in a care management platform as well, how it can make financial sense, and how it can also aid operational efficiency. Once we've run through those 2 points initially in these slides, we're going to go into a demo of the platform, looking first at what a carer's perspective would be, so how they'd use the app to clock in and clock out of visits and how they can view their rota for up to 30 days ahead. And then we'll have a look at what a care coordinator's or a manager's view would be. So you get a top-down monitoring view of what's going on in real time, the ability to pull out reports, and of course to schedule and publish rotas, which then push out to the Carer app. So first of all, just tackling some of those unfortunate kind of challenges that we're seeing in the social care sector right now. As we know, the autumn budget has left providers reeling, and rightly so. The NHS received a massive boost with £22 billion of extra funding. Social care has been left with just £600 million. Now, with rising costs and national insurance hikes, increased wage requirements that are being placed on services, many providers are asking, how do we keep going? It's undoubtedly frustrating and an undeserving time for this to arrive for the industry. So one of the kind of solutions that we're hoping to offer today is that rostering could potentially be something to ease pressures around costs. So while there are pressures on costs in order to survive, there can be a bit of a lack of clarity from people giving you advice on how best to do this. So some support might be around, again, adapting and adopting technology like Log My Care and like other rostering and care management platforms as well, to help you achieve more operational efficiency. So how does this help you do that? One way it can do that is by helping you to attract and retain talent. So with the right digital tools for care planning and for rota management, it can help ensure that people don't have stress and burnout so much in their work lives. So there can be the ability for people to obviously see more closely what hours they're scheduled for, both from a carer's perspective and the managers as well, to ensure you're not going above and beyond what people are rated for. And you can also track whether somebody is going to be down for doing extra overtime or not, or if that's something that they don't want to commit to at the same time. Another thing that we think that Log My Care and care management and rostering together can do is drive more person-centered care. So the way that does that is by matching up the carer with the client in terms of both the continuity of care. So is this person going to be supporting that client day in, day out, week in, week out, helping to form bonds and relationships, that ultimately are only beneficial to both parties there. And then, of course, skill matching. So making sure that the skills that your team have are being matched up nicely to the needs of the individuals that they're supporting. And then you have an easy place to evidence all of that within your platform that you're using. So we think that rostering can also help with operational efficiency. So I talked a little bit about some of that already, how data can be used to drive matching, both in terms of suitability for somebody supporting the right needs with the skills that they have, and then also around that continuity of care piece. So rostering systems can help connect with care management platforms, and they can use data-driven matching, saving time and money by ensuring care providers can easily match staff based on whether they're part of that care team, as I say, and that can help reduce that administrative burden. So it's not a case that only one member of your team knows that information. That's readily available to everyone because it's been input and it's at your fingertips and surfacing that straight away. You can also be adapted to last-minute changes. We know that care changes day to day, last minute, and the ever-shifting nature of care means that a rostering tool will enable you to more quickly respond to those changes and to the needs of your service users, which are changing day to day as well. We talked a bit about reducing turnover, reducing burnout, and relationship building there as well. Relationships are undisputedly at the heart of social care. Now, an independent report recently found that 8% of social workers who were considering leaving the sector have agreed to stay on and help those people that they support, simply by way of them having a bond and having a strong relationship with those individuals. Data-driven rostering can deepen those relationships even further, building trust through consistency of care and increasing job satisfaction among carers who can see the impact their work has on the people that they support. Reducing turnover and burnout in social care is really, really important, and according to Skills for Care, the overall turnover rate for social care in 22-23 was 28%. Now that's almost double the UK average employee turnover rate of 15% a year. So something does need to change for us to retain the right people, the right skills within the care sector, and people that ultimately want to remain because of the fact that they love caring for the clients that they support. Now, with rota management, care providers have oversight over the staff that are working for them, and they can continuously see that overtime piece that we were talking about, and where people are picking up extra shifts, and make it easier to mitigate against the risk of those key staff members burning out because they are volunteering for these things, and encouraging more of a work-life balance for those people instead of relying on them overly. We talked a little bit about building more person-centered outcomes as well. And the way that these systems can do that is, again, relationship building. It's that ability where carers are regularly assigned to the same person. That's going to build that familiarity and that trust over time. And what we hear and the feedback that we get from a lot of the services that we consulted with when we were building rostering is that they're really lauded for this. And it's one of the things that seem to stand out for us from domiciliary services in particular that are practicing this day in, day out. They're often ones that are held up as kind of outstanding examples within their particular subsector. Again, that care continuity, carers will be familiar with the needs of the individuals they're assigned to, and that's going to result into that continuity of care and better outcomes ultimately for the individuals that they're supporting. We consulted with Epilepsy Society as one of the examples, one of the services that were keen to take a bit of a leading role in helping us build out our rostering function. And this is a quote from one of their registered managers there that was really instrumental, really helpful. And we have to thank Simon for his input there. Like he's mentioned, we've tried to build something that's really universally adaptable here and can be used in different settings. So it would work for shifts, it would work for visits, and a mix of the two as well. Brilliant. So I think it's time for us to take a bit of a closer look at the system. As I mentioned, first we're going to look at the there we go. We're going to have a look at the Carer app and what the teams will see when they're clocking in and out. Just to double check that is coming up okay for everyone. If you wouldn't mind just dropping on the chat there, Chloe or Joe. Yeah, I think it is. Awesome. So I'm just going to head on to the app here, sign in, and then front and center, what I've got here is a reminder that I need to be clocking in for this afternoon visit with Charlie here. So it's flagging up that I'm now overdue for this. So I'm now slightly late. If I tap into this, I can see some more information. You can leave details of exactly what we need to be checking when we sign in, when we clock in. I can also see who else I'm assigned to and allocated to this visit alongside. So it's a double-handed visit with Charlie, and Callum's going to be there alongside me. I can clock in here, and I can also leave a quick note about why I've been late. Traffic was a nightmare. And then that's going to update the status within the rota with this event being underway in progress, and it's time tracking. And this is what's going to pull through to your reporting. So you're going to be able to see, and we'll have a look at this a little bit later, how this pulls through as like visits and shifts and hours completed versus those scheduled as well. And this is then going to pull through for the time that I actually clocked in as well. If we have a quick double check on here for Charlie, I can tap here for his address, and that's going to feed through into Maps here and then show me exactly where I need to be going for this visit, how long it's going to take to get there, etc. And what we've tried to do here, as I mentioned, is build the rota side of the system seamlessly into the care management, into the app that you're used to and that carers are used to. So they're really able easily to come in here and see their rota for today and for days ahead as well. So if I just wanted to update this here, you can see I completed a shift a little earlier in the day. That's been updated. I'm now clocked in for this visit with Charlie for 2 hours, and then I've got a visit with Francesco a little later in the day. And I can also look ahead to further days, up to 30 days ahead, and see when I'm scheduled on for as well within the app. Fab, that's pretty much everything that the carers would have access to in terms of the rota here. Obviously, they could then clock out from here, and that's going to feed through to your reports. But if we have a bit of a closer look at how that looks from a management perspective as well, you can see here in the care office, this is the home screen, and we've now added this new area to it, this new tab for the rota. So this is where you're going to be able to get a real-time monitoring view of what's going on at any one time. That clock in that I did has shown up here as in progress, and that will then be dropping a pin on a map as well. So it's geolocating the carer to exactly where they are when they're clocking in and clocking out. So you've got that evidence-based call monitoring effectively. And we click into here to our monitoring dashboard, and we can see the visits and shifts that are currently in progress and that geolocation below here as well. It's also going to be monitoring anything that I need to be immediately aware of. So as with anything in Log My Care, it's going to surface things that don't look right to the system. So we can see here if anyone hasn't clocked in or if anyone's late to a visit, that's going to be flagging up within here, as well as many other areas. So if there's anything in terms of double booking or skills not matching exactly how we might want them to, that's going to pull into here as well again, and all feeds through from our rota builder. So if we have a quick look over into that, this is the view that you'd have as a manager, as a care coordinator, looking at this across a week. But we can also dig into this for today and just get a quick overview of what's going on at the moment. So I'm currently against team members, and I can see I've got an afternoon shift and a visit with Charlie that I need to cover a little later in the day. So I could scroll down here. I see that Jason's actually free, and I can drag and drop this shift on for Jason. So that's now been created as a draft, but I would then need to come into here and click publish for that to actually push out to the app and to Jason. But before I did that, I can also double check if he's free. Like here with Richard, I can see his contact details, his phone number, and his preferences. So before I actually click publish, I could come down here, get in touch with him and see, actually, he can't actually commute that far because of whatever reason it might be, or their preference doesn't extend to doing that overtime, whatever it might be here. But yeah, you've got the ability to really easily reach out to your team at the point of scheduling or at the point of drafting a rota before you actually click publish, and that change gets set in motion as well. So we're looking at this from a team member's perspective, but we can also have a quick look for our clients as well. So we can see here for Charlie, what's scheduled throughout the day, and for the other clients below. And as mentioned, this is all updating in line with people clocking in or otherwise. So if anything hasn't been completed, the event status is going to show up in line with what's actually being done in real time for you. Fab, I talked a little bit about the ability to manage both shifts and visits within here as well. And this is where this comes in. So you saw there was the shift that I dragged down, but you can create different types of shifts, day, night, waking nights, whatever it might be. And then you can allocate people to those shifts and to those visits from within here. If we went to do an allocation for a client, so we saw here for Charlie, this hasn't currently been allocated. So we had the drag and drop earlier. We can click in here and allocate easily as well. And this is where that suitability scoring comes in. So we're able to see Alex is actually available for this. So we could start to allocate him. He is part of the care team, and do his skills match up to what's required by Charlie. So that will all provide a real easy to see overview of whether it would be appropriate to schedule Alex on for this shift for Charlie here. And if we wanted to just look at his care team, we can select that here, and that's only going to show up the individuals that are part of his assigned team to allocate them there. Fab. If we just move over here into our reporting, finally, this is where you would pull off any data that you want to from the system. So you'd be able to pull off existing or historical rostering, and this is where, for hours completed, for payroll and for invoicing purposes, you could come in here and download that. You can obviously do that for all clients, or if you're just looking at particular individuals. So if we just want to look at hours that Richard has worked with Charlie across the month, I can do that really simply here as well and download a copy of that. I just choose the date range that I want to see that information for. So if we're looking at the whole of November, and then that can be pulled off, downloaded, and fed into any kind of onward system that you need to use for invoicing or for payroll purposes. Brilliant. So that's a quick kind of overview of the system and where it's at the moment. I guess the main things to mention are the kind of geolocated clock in, clock out, the drag and drop easy functionality of the actual rota builder, and then the ability to easily pull off, export any reports that you need to for payroll and invoicing. Our plans in the future, in the near future, are coming up looking at travel time and mileage. And we also want to look at how we can make the carer experience even better within the app. So the ability for carers to access their rota, but their rota only ahead of time, rather than being able to see any kind of care-related information at the moment. Fab, that was pretty much everything I think I wanted to run through today in the system. Did we have any questions from the chat that people wanted to go through? Let's have a quick look. So Harvey, the system has been released already. It was released on the 18th of November, and the cost, it's the only part of Log My Care that is based on the number of carers, number of support workers using the system. So it would be £3 per carer, per support worker per month to add it to your existing account. One thing I didn't mention that I had written down here to cover off was just that the system does track absences as well. So there's the ability for you to input absences, a reason for that absence, and then see that reflect within the rota as well. And you can monitor that over time, of course. Brill. Is there a QR code? There isn't a QR code to clock in and clock out from a visit at the moment, but there is that geolocated clock in and clock out. So you've got the evidence-based check-in there right now. We chose not to do that for a reason. During our research, talking to customers, they basically told us that they had issues with QR codes and how they were being used to clock in and clock out. So we felt that the geolocated pin drop was a more kind of elegant solution, whereby there was less kind of ability for things to go wrong. Right now, that isn't kind of ring fenced to a radius of the client's home or to the premises, but that's something that we're looking to introduce in the future, which would prevent somebody from clocking in until they're actually there. But either way, right now, what you can see is exactly where someone is when they are saying they're there and leaving there. Yeah, Harvey, thanks for listing out the requirements there. Really, really useful. Brilliant. So we've got everything that you're looking for there from the requirements in terms of reports around hours completed versus planned, template rota and published rota, exporting data to payroll, tracking sickness and unauthorized absence, as well as holidays. What it doesn't do is some HR functionality. It's not a HR solution in terms of showing you, the number of annual leave days somebody's taken and the number left. What we are looking to do a little bit later, and I'm really glad you brought this up, is the Bradford factor. So that is being considered and plotted for part of our roadmap a little bit later down the lane there. Fab. Naomi, hi, great to hear from you. Good to see you here on with us. I will speak to Flacco and I'll reach out to you a little bit later today. And yeah, absolutely, we can look at adding this on to your system at Hollybank House as well. Can you narrow the rota down to different locations? Yeah, you absolutely can. Really, really good question. So we covered off the ability to do different types of shifts. So you can do day shift, waking nights, sleep-ins. So you could set up as many, you've got some configuration basically when you create the rota and when you're creating the different shift types. You can also have like different funding sources as well reflected within there. And I should have mentioned that the rota builds from two places. That's from an individual's care package and then the contracts and preferences of your team. So it will take both into account as you build out different patterns, different shifts and visits. And yeah, you can narrow down the rota to different locations, Charlotte, absolutely. That's something that would be done via the site switching. So the rota would be site specific. It wouldn't kind of pull across all sites at this moment if you were operating and managing multiple sites. Yeah, Melissa, we can add the rota for you, absolutely. So just at the end, I'm going to pull up a link where you can get in touch via and just register your interest to add the rostering to your account. And yeah, one of our customer success team will reach out to enable that for you. Yeah, Precious, that's really useful feedback about the pricing. We're always conscious of that and keen to ensure that we're competitive in anything that we bring to the market. So I'll certainly kind of pass that on to the team as part of your feedback there. Brill, let me just pull up the page here so you guys can reach out. And this is where you could book in with us using this link, either with myself or a member of our CS team if you're an existing customer of ours. Brill, well, it's been an absolute pleasure showing everyone around the system. I'll give you all a moment or two. I mean, it's pretty simple address, but just to jot it down there, and then we'll wrap up. Fab. Thanks, guys. Take care.